Moana 2. I finally seen it. And now it's time to answer the big question. Is it better than the original? Or is it even just as good? Or no? Now, of course, you know me. When I watch movies, I don't necessarily like to always compare them to other films. But when we have a sequel, you kind of just can't get away from that. So we are going to be talking about that one today. Hello, everyone. I'm Amanda or Vamp. What is up? We are here to talk about Moana 2. And if you don't know this about me, Moana is actually one of my favorite Disney films of all time. So I was really looking forward to this one. The one thing I will say is yeah, I might get a Moana tattoo, but sadly, one thing I don't have is I don't have any Moana merch right now. So I just wore for this video. This is Disney merch though. I'm wearing my Finding Nemo shirt that I have that I wear like a dress. P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney. P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney. Where are we going? P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney. And look, Dory. So that's what I got today. For this, we're going to be talking about a little bit of a synopsis. We're going to be talking a little bit about the things I loved. We're going to be talking about some things that I didn't love and that I feel like could use some work. And then we are going to also talk about something that everyone's been talking about, which is how Moana 2 originally was going to be a TV series and it was changed to a film, and how much did that potentially affect the story, the project, and ultimately what we ended up seeing on the screen here. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit as well. So stay tuned for all of that. And just a heads up, spoilers are in effect. At the end of this review, we will answer the question of, where does Moana 2 rank in comparison to the original? Spoilers ahead, as I said, because we are about to talk about the plot. So, what is Moana 2 even about? In the first film, we have wrapped up the problem with Te Fiti, which is that Te Fiti was missing her heart, didn't know who she was, similar to Moana finding herself, Moana also finding out who she wanted to be. And in helping Te Fiti, Moana restored the oceans to the conditions they should have been in, which helped out her people. So we pick up with her 3 years later, and her island is doing much better. We are in a time of prosperity, but the problem now is that returning to wayfinding, Moana is learning that she just can't seem to find any people. She finds the hint of a civilization, and in this learns about a very important island which connected all of the other groups that split off from their original tribe, the other wayfinders that are out there that Moana is currently searching for. This island disappeared, and seemingly when it disappeared, the connection between all of these different groups was lost. So, after being reached out to from her ancestors, Moana realizes that she has to go on this mission and she has to find this island to reconnect everyone. This means she has to leave her family, including her adorable little baby sister, who is like her #1 fan. So sad. And she doesn't know how long she's going to be gone for. This time, however, she does not set out on her own and instead takes a little crew with her. So we also get a lot of new characters. Along her journey, we also meet some new characters. And of course, some favorites from the previous film do return, Maui included. And when she does find the island, she realizes that it has been banished under the sea by Nalo, who is this vengeful god who does not like people for some reason. And she ends up having to restore the island to reconnect everyone, which after trying and failing and then trying again, they do. And so in the end, everyone is reconnected, and Moana has a stronger sense for who she is and just what she's capable of. Really, this is also a story about her growth and her really coming into her own, and I think trusting herself to just kind of know how to get out of these problems. Some of that I feel like works, some of it doesn't. So let's talk about that. First things first, I really love these new characters that we get with this cast. There's some really fun ones. I love her little crew. We kind of have 3 characters. You've got the strong guy who's also a history buff, which I just think is such a fun, unique character. You have a tinkerer who is actually the person who also built Moana's ship, who is constantly trying to improve things and will not accept that anything is ever really good enough, can't stop tinkering. And then, of course, we have our our farmer. And the farmer has come to make sure that everyone is fed on the journey and is just really does not want to be there, really loves the land. The farmer was definitely my favorite character, but all of these characters are really fun. I also really love how we've updated Moana's look in this film. So in Moana 2, she's definitely gotten older, so she's taller, she is a little bit more presence, I would say, but she's also like buff. Like they made her more jacked, which also makes sense as she's, you know, a wayfinder. She's been sailing a lot more. And so she would be more jacked. But I loved that. I loved the update to her design. We get a more mature, a more strong, and more capable Moana, even though I think sometimes she doesn't trust in herself as much as she should, which is a big part of her journey in terms of her growth throughout this film. Some of it is a little weird. So let's actually talk about that. So another new character that we have in Moana 2 is Matangi. Matangi is this bat-like goddess who is working for Nalo and has actually been imprisoned. And she seems to be the villain initially. She's captured Maui. We don't know what she wants to do with him. But in the end, we find out that she's actually captured Maui so that Maui can reconnect with Moana, because Matangi actually wants Moana to succeed in her quest. She wants Nalo to be taken down, and she thinks Moana is the person that's capable of this because she's trapped, so she needs help getting free. So she ultimately helps Moana to also kind of help herself, and because she just thinks, yeah, Nalo kind of sucks, so she betrays him. I really liked this character. I really liked the song that we get from her, but I'm not too big of a fan of the plot here, because here's where it gets a little weird. They sing this whole song about how needing to get lost, I believe is the name of the song. You need to get lost in order to go where you need to be. Sometimes you got to find another way, and in order to find another way and kind of get more creative with your solutions, you got to get lost. In a way, it's kind of about trusting, I think, in your own natural instincts and in your own wisdom up to this point. Like, you sometimes, in order to do something, you can't hit a problem head on, and you just have to trust that you have the skills and the know-how to kind of make a weird turn and then find your way out of that problem, which I kind of understand, but it just felt a little like loosey-goosey. Like it wasn't very precise. Like, how are we going to get out of this? Oh, I know. Let's get lost. What? So while I understand what it was going for, it didn't feel quite as tidy as some of the themes that we have in the first Moana. And ultimately, that is kind of my issues with this film. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that I just think could have been done better. Overall, I did really enjoy this film. So keep in mind, this is not me saying that you shouldn't watch this film or that I didn't think it was good, because I did think it was really good. But when I'm comparing it to the original, there were some things that just didn't hit as hard for me. Now, of course, when I watched Moana in 2016, it was a time when I was really doing some soul searching and trying to find out who I was. And I think I was wearing a lot of masks and I wasn't really sure who I was ultimately. I felt like I was living my life maybe for other people and not for myself sometimes. And so Moana was a film that really spoke to me because it's about this girl who knows what she wants in life, but is being told that it's wrong, that she can't have that. And in the end, it's her embracing who she is, defying what other people say she can and cannot do, to just find herself. And in that, she becomes the hero. And in that, she also helps this goddess to find herself and restores balance to the oceans. Beautiful story. Very, very emotional, very touching, especially at the place where I was at, where I was feeling quite lost in my identity. So this story has a very strong emotional core, so with the family elements. I really loved Moana's relationship with her sister in this. Moana's sister is named Samea. She's super cute, and I also just felt a strong connection to that relationship, as I also have siblings. I have sisters, and I think about some of the things that Moana has to risk here in order to save her people and allow them to all connect to each other again. And the idea of leaving your family behind and you never know if you might see them again or not, and leaving your sister behind and when you come back, you might not even recognize each other is such, oh, it's such high stakes. I do wish that they had taken that a little bit further, but I did feel a very strong emotional connection to it. But ultimately, this is a story about, I think, Moana realizing that she can do this and that she is a leader and trusting in herself and taking a leap of faith, literally, in the case of the end of the film and the final battle. So that is kind of what we're doing here, but it isn't as clearly connected to, I guess, the objective, because although she does literally take a leap of faith to restore the island, she doesn't have, the island is about connecting the community, but her journey isn't really about like finding a sense of community. I mean, I guess it's about kind of allowing herself to be the leader of a community. It just didn't feel as closely connected as the whole Moana journey with Te Fiti. That whole thing was very tidily connected in the first one, and in this one it doesn't feel as intrinsically connected. You know what I mean? I just felt a little bit in the middle how we got places, Maui being kidnapped just to be reunited, that we have a portal that can just teleport you. Some of this stuff felt a little bit convenient for me. Now, granted, I'm not super in the know on all the mythology here, so maybe that is just my loss, and maybe it's all super relevant as well if you know a lot of the stories that inspire these characters. And if that is the case, and you have that amazing education, and you would like to share anything with me in regards to that knowledge, I would love to hear about it in the comments, because I will admit I'm not super in the know on a lot of the mythology and folklore that is referenced in Moana and Moana 2. So feel free to share. This is me learning. So this is me learning. I also have heard people say some stuff about the fact that this was going to be a TV series, and that in that this film got a lot cut out of it. Now, people have been saying this as though it was changed like a month before it was released and they just like cut it up. FYI, the change to series, from series to film, happened 9 months before the film was released. So in February of 2024 was announced it was going to be changed to a movie, and they had all that time to make those changes. Looking into it, it does sound like there was a lot of music and stuff that was cut. But a lot of the people that have worked on it say that they don't even really fully remember all the stuff that it was going to be in the series because of how much the production shifted, and because they just found that the story that they went with worked the best. The reason that they apparently made the change is because the footage was so good, they felt that just having it as a Disney Plus streaming series was not what it was worth, and that it should be on the big screen. The other thing I've heard people that have worked on it say is that it wasn't just about like the footage, it was actually about the story was getting too big for it to be a series, and it had these like massive moments that they just said like it just begged to be on the big screen. Now, all of this kind of sounds like marketing speak, to be fair with you, like things that have been very carefully chosen for why they decided to do this. Some people have also said that like Disney needed more films in the theaters for money. Some people have said on the financial side that this actually has to do with Disney not wanting to focus as much on the streaming series as they want to focus on building their overall brand. And that's why it's a film and not on Disney Plus. But I've heard sort of all of the various things. And what I know of that is that 9 months ago, they made the shift to change it, which is a lot of time for them to adjust. And that there were a lot of songs that were recorded that got scrapped. I would be very curious to hear what some of those songs are, because I think the movie feels like a movie. It doesn't feel like a TV series to me. So I don't know if they actually cut stuff down. I would think if they were still 9 months out, that they probably had some stuff that wasn't even done that would have been in there. So I think of what we have here, I don't know how much was actually cut in terms of finished animation, voice acting, music, all of that stuff. That's a lot. And I would assume 9 months out, you might not have even that stuff all done. So I don't think it was necessarily edited, but I do think that they were in the middle of production when they shifted it. They shifted kind of what the focus was going to be, and I think there would have been more stuff we would have gotten with the side characters, with the crew, maybe even with Matangi, maybe even there could have been some more characters along the way. I mean, there could have been more with Jermaine Clement's crab character from the first film, who does show up at the end. I feel like there's more that could have been in here. Definitely music that got cut, but I don't know how finished it was. So it feels like they kind of took the idea of the story and then changed it. Like they took that idea and changed it so that it would fit better for a movie. But they still kept the core of kind of what this story was about, which is about Moana's growth as a character and finding the sense of community. And it is a quest that feels like it could have been a lot longer. So you probably could have extended just even this one quest into like a whole season or even a couple seasons of a show if you wanted, which kind of would have been cool as well to play with this idea of, you know, how long has Moana been gone from her family and how much is that also affecting her while she's on this journey? Because that whole idea, like I said, felt really high stakes to me, but then they didn't actually deliver on any of those stakes in this film. However, there is big stakes. I mean, Moana does basically die, and I wasn't sure for a minute if they were going to let her die, but I was like, that would be crazy. She also becomes the first Disney princess, I believe, to have a tattoo, which I thought was pretty big, at least as far as I know. If there are any other tattooed Disney princesses out there and I missed it, please let me know. But she ends up dying, and when she comes back to life, she has her own tattoo, which also maybe implies that she's now some kind of demigod or maybe has powers. I mean, she definitely seems to have powers. She has her own tattoo based on her own achievement, and her ore seems to now have some magical properties. So that whole idea I thought was really cool, but how much more gratifying would it have been if we had stretched it out? I don't know. I would be curious to hear what some of the other songs were, because something I felt about this film in comparison to the first Moana is that the songs just aren't as catchy. I even just went back and listened to How Far I'll Go in comparison to Beyond, which I would say is one of my favorite songs from Moana 2. And Beyond has chilling vocals. Like, it really has some nice, like, even compositions in it. Like the way that some of this music is arranged, it gives you chills. But it's just not as catchy as How Far I'll Go. It's not as catchy as You're Welcome. And speaking of You're Welcome, I feel like my favorite songs were Beyond and What Could Be Better Than This. And What Could Be Better Than This gives me a little bit of You're Welcome vibes, although I'm sure some people would say Can I Get a Chi-Who is actually more of You're Welcome, because that's Maui's song in this. But none of these songs are super catchy. They have fun moments. They're entertaining. I do think they're still well done. I did enjoy the music, but it's not stuck in my head like the music from the first film was. Which maybe for some people doesn't matter. But I do feel like for Disney is important. You want things to be stuck in your head because that's how you get people to like rewatch, listen. You get those streaming numbers for music. You get, you know, people wanting to buy all the merch because something is stuck in their head. So that's kind of just where I'm at. And like Beyond, I do think the main part that she sings, the whole Beyond, I'm not going to sing it because I don't want Disney to strike me down with their copyright hammer. But that one line is catchy, but it's not enough. I need like a whole verse or a whole chorus or something to be in my head. And at the end, they also kind of set up that there was going to be another film or another series or something. Because stick around to the end of the film if you want to check it out. Nalo appears and he says, you know, I'm going to be basically getting Moana. I'm going to get her. I don't even know why he really fully left the fight. I guess they defeated him by bringing the island up, by touching the island. They broke the curse, and then he was kind of banished. But I'm like, how come he can't just show up and fight them? Like, because he's banished? There's things in this that just feel kind of unclear. I'm also wondering, why doesn't he like humans? I thought we might find that out in this. I thought maybe he'd be related to Maui, and it has to do with the fact that, you know, Maui's always been close to humans, and maybe like Maui was his son or something, and he was jealous of the humans and the attention that his son enjoyed from the humans. I don't know. I'm just rambling about ideas that I had or places that I thought this would go that it just didn't, which obviously is my own thing, but it didn't feel like we really got all of the details here. And now, of course, they're setting it up for a future thing, so maybe there'll be more details, or maybe it's not important, these details, but I have questions. And there were not answers. And now it's like, also, there's going to be more story. And also, why does Nalo literally look like Thanos at the end of this, like sitting in his chair? It's very Marvel. So I'm curious to see where it goes because I love Moana. And I will be here for whatever they want to do next because I also really did enjoy this film. But overall, I have to say for me, I think this one was... It's like a 3 or a 4 out of 5 for me. I'm gonna give it a 3.5. I don't usually do halves, but I'm gonna do half because I do think it was still really well done, but there's just elements here that I feel are lacking in comparison to the first Moana, which is, of course, hard to do. It's a very strong film, and we do have a different team on the music here. Lin-Manuel Miranda is no longer with us on this film. He's not like dearly departed. He's just not on this film. And taking over from Miranda, we have Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear, who are also amazing. And I do think that they made some really, really beautiful music for this movie. So I still think a lot of people are going to enjoy the soundtrack. Some people also might find it more catchy than I am finding it. And there were also other songwriters that came on and worked on the tracks here as well that also worked on the first film. So there are still some people that have overlap. It's not a completely new team working on the music, but I think Lin-Manuel Miranda is missed on this soundtrack. I will say that because I just feel like there is a infectious nature with his music, and even just like going back and listening, like some of the rhythm in the music, it's catchy in terms of beats. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. But yeah, let me know what you thought of this one down in the comments below. Let me know where it ranks for you. Did you like it better, or did you like it not as much as the original? Or do you feel they were both really good? Did you find this music catchy? What was your favorite song? What was your least favorite song? Let me know. I want to hear your thoughts. And if you guys want to check out more from me in regards to Disney, feel free to check out my reaction to the Lilo and Stitch teaser trailer, which I also talk about where we're going with that and some of the live action stuff. We're getting a live action Moana. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but that is a thing that we will be talking about, I'm sure, when we get more information. Let me know your thoughts, and until next time, friends, as always, stay nerdy. Bye! Chee-hoo!